Coming up on this episode of Talking Sports, we got updates on the MLB offseason, on the NFL head coaching carousel, and the whole Giannis trade saga. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Sports. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew Volkman. This is my co-host.
Miles Shield, how's it going, everyone?
We're doing good. Well, in theory, we should be doing good. I'm still a little sick. That's why we're doing a virtual episode here once again. So Miles is over the phone. But we got another great show for you guys coming up. We got to start out, though, with our Now segment and the MLB offseason. And it's been a wild couple of days, just to say the least, Miles. First, we had a pretty big signing, a big trade. We had the Mets making a trade for Chicago White Sox outfielder Luis Robert Jr. The White Sox are acquiring infielder Luis Angel Acuna and right-handed pitching prospect Truman Polly, while the Mets actually get Luis Robert Jr. So this is a pretty big trade in the MLB, and it's something that's been rumored for quite a while now that Luis Robert may not be on the Chicago White Sox come next season. Miles, what do you think about this trade?
Yeah, I think it's, again, big market teams just taking and taking and taking. I think this was a move that the White Sox were wanting to make, and I don't completely understand it from the Mets' point of view. I don't really understand what they're trying to accomplish here. They kind of got just a weird team looking at it, like Bo Bichette, Juan Soto, and Luis Robert Jr. They got Freddie Peralta now. Like it's just a weird money filled team. So I'm not really sure how this one's going to work out.
Yeah, I think one thing that might be like a good way to say this is that the Mets just have a completely different team from where they started the offseason. I mean, no more Brandon Nimmo, no more Pete Alonso, no more Edwin Diaz, and now they've added Luis Robert Jr., Marcus Semien, no more Jeff McNeil, by the way. Now they add Bo Bichette into that lineup. Now they also got Luis Robert Jr. It's just a completely different team from what they started 2025 with, and even what they started 2025 in the offseason with. So a completely different team, but I like this trade for the Mets. They didn't give up too much, and Luis Robert Jr., I think for him, it just may be a change of scenery into New York in a lineup with more protection, with Juan Soto probably hitting in front of him, with probably having Bo Bichette hitting in front of him. With a little bit more protection, I think Luis Robert Jr. could go back to being the 2023 version of Luis Robert Jr. And not to mention, at the bare minimum, he's a hitter that will crush lefties and play really good defense. So I think the Mets got a really good trade for a consistent starting outfielder. And you already mentioned it. The Brewers have spent over Freddie Peralta to the New York Mets. They did it on the same day, actually. And in that trade, the Brewers are sending Freddie Peralta and Tobias Myers over to the New York Mets for top prospects Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat. Miles, I want to hear what you think about this trade because I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, I mean, first of all, you're the baseball analyst in this podcast, so you're going to know more about these prospects than I do. But from a face value of a normal MLB fan, which is what I consider myself, I don't like this trade at all. It was a trade that had to be done because, obviously money, and money. That's all the MLB is.
Yeah.
And the Brewers wouldn't have been able to bring him back. He only had 1 year left on his contract. The Mets, they're able to bring him in. They're able to give him contracts. And it's not something we wanted to do. He carried that pitching rotation. He was the only consistency in our entire pitching group, like from relievers to starters to closers. He was the only one consistently good. And losing that's definitely scary. Getting to only two prospects, also scary because, I mean, we're putting our faith that we just traded our star pitcher for guys who we believe are going to be the future. And we've done it every year, right? We traded Corbin Burns. We traded Josh Hader, Devin Williams, guys who we just weren't going to be able to bring back. We've had to get rid of. So this stinks. Obviously love Freddie. We kind of made him who he is. I'm looking right now in my studio at home at the Freddie Peralta rookie card I got on the wall.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough. It's what I said, when small market teams are building these players and spend so much time, effort, and money and put them into these players. And then once these guys actually get good, they go off to a big market team and win a World Series. So, I mean, for the Brewers, they have to win young. They have to win when before these guys are superstars and see what happens.
Yeah. Now, I will just say this as the baseball analyst of the show, like you said, I like this trade, though. I do like this trade for both sides. The Mets first getting Peralta and Tobias Myers are two very quality starting pitchers that they can add to their rotation to help bolster that rotation. Because right now, that rotation is not looking very good for the Mets. But now adding Tobias Myers, who I think at the bare minimum is a fifth starter in your rotation or maybe a fourth starter with the potential to be a three or maybe two in the rotation, and I guess at the bare minimum, like a back end of your bullpen guy, like just a long reliever, which is still a pretty good value for someone like Tobias Myers. And then obviously Freddie Peralta, he has the ceiling of a Cy Young candidate with the floor of being a number two starter in the rotation or an all star at the bare minimum. And for the Brewers, getting Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat, who now become their number three and number six prospects, respectively. Jet Williams is a very interesting prospect, but he fits the mold of what the Brewers are trying to get. Jet Williams is 5'7". He's about 180 pounds. So he's a short, stocky guy like Caleb Durbin, Joey Ortiz. Very much fits the theme of what Pat Murphy really wants on this team. And Jet Williams as well has a lot of pop in his bat. He really does have a lot of pop in his bat. For only a guy that's 5'7", he hit 17 home runs last year in AAA. Now, granted, that is at a ballpark in Syracuse where the wind blows out of that stadium, so it's easier to hit home runs. But even still, that power number for Jet Williams is still really, really good. And coming into a hitter's friendly ballpark like Milwaukee at American Family Field, I think it's a very good idea to bring in someone like Jet Williams who can play the middle infield positions and play the outfield with a really good glove. So I like that move getting Jet Williams. And then you're getting Brandon Sproat, who is a major league ready pitcher. And the Brewers have done really good things with major league talent pitchers that were just not able to get to the big leagues with their current teams. We saw them do it with Robert Gasser in that Josh Hader trade. We saw them do it with DL Hall in the Corbin Burns trade, who's now a quality reliever in my opinion. So I like this trade. You're getting two really solid prospects, and Brandon Sproat, I believe, can be a guy that's in the rotation come opening day after spring training. So I do like this move. It just sucks that we're losing a guy like Freddie Peralta who came up as a 21-year-old and we're trading away at 28. It just really sucks.
Yeah.
And this
Well,
really,
I have a question for you.
yeah.
With the Jet Williams or whatever, is he going to be ready to come up to the MLB?
Most likely not this year, but I think he could be a mid-season call-up. He's definitely going to be on the roster by 2026, and it's not like we need him now because I feel like Terang and Joey Ortiz and Caleb Durbin, them on the infield is good for right now. I really feel like we don't need to change it, and the Brewers are very confident, and I'm very confident that Joey Ortiz can get back to being a league average hitter because he was that back in 2024. He just had a very down year, and I think that was some issues with the hitting coach that he had because the hitting coach, obviously, I don't think him and Joey Ortiz were meshing very well. There's some things going on with Joey Ortiz that were very weird. So I'm very confident in the Brewers being able to roll out the same infield as last year and get similar and if not even better results from their infield. So I'm not worried about rushing Jet Williams to the big leagues yet. If an injury does happen, I think we could see Jet Williams making his major league debut, or we could turn to someone like an Andrew Monasterio if we don't feel like we want to get Jet Williams up to the major leagues just yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the other thing that this trade actually does feel is the debate for a salary floor because what this all stems from is the Brewers owner not willing to spend money. I mean, Freddie Peralta, I feel like, is much cheaper than Corbin Burns. He's not going to demand the same amount of money as Corbin Burns by $4 or $5 million, which is, you may not think is a lot, but it can be a lot in the grand scheme of things. It's just if there was a salary floor, Mark Antanasio, the entire Antanasio family who owned the Brewers, they would be forced to say, hey, we got to meet that salary floor. Let's go pay Freddie Peralta. Like, it's easy just to go pay him and get over that salary floor. You're keeping one of your best pitchers in baseball. It's just stupid at this point that owners do not want to spend money. It's the same thing that's going on with Tarek Skubal in Detroit. It's been happening with the Brewers for so long with Josh Hader, Devin Williams, Corbin Burns. Like, it's at this point, it's just terrible. Like, if something doesn't happen very soon with like ownership, I want Mark Antanasio to sell the team or at least make changes to the ownership group.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, that's a discussion for another time.
Real quick, in editing and post here, Andrew here. Just two other moves that I want to make sure I get out there. First, Cody Bellinger signed a new 5-year deal to return to the New York Yankees, pending a physical. It is a 5-year, I believe it is a pretty massive contract. It is a 5-year, $162.5 million contract with a $20 million signing bonus. It comes with a no trade clause and has opt outs after 2027 and 2028. So after the second and third years, Cody Bellinger has the option to opt out if he does choose to do that. So this is the Yankees being probably conservative with their outfield, and this may be an opportunity for the Yankees to possibly explore options for trading Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones now that Bellinger, Trent Grisham, and Aaron Judge are all back in the outfield, and Giancarlo Stanton is in at DH. And the other move was a trade that the Rangers made for left-handed starter Mackenzie Gore, trading 5 prospects over to the Nationals while the Rangers get Mackenzie Gore in return. Personally, Mackenzie Gore is not worth 5 top 30 prospects according to MLB Pipeline that the Rangers gave up. One of them was Gavin Feen, a first-round pick from this past year that the Rangers drafted. He's a third baseman out of California. Definitely don't think Mackenzie Gore is worth 5 top 30 prospects, but he definitely has shown flashes to be an ace in the rotations of many major league teams as a lefty, which are very, very valuable. You don't see very many lefty aces in the rotations right now. But the Rangers having Nathan Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom maybe being a little bit more of a protected rotation for Mackenzie Gore in Texas will maybe help him reach that full potential. But we've seen flashes out of him. He's just been extremely inconsistent, and that's what he's really looking for. So maybe with a much more secure rotation with Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom in that rotation with him, maybe Mackenzie Gore will shine out in Texas. But at this current moment, 5 top 30 prospects, definitely not worth it.
Moving on to football, which is what this whole episode will most likely be about. Indiana wins the national championship. That's crazy.
Oh, that is, for sure.
That is, I mean, for a team that has never been good football-wise, they're a basketball school. This is incredible to go undefeated with the Heisman quarterback who's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. It's crazy what Curt Cignetti's been able to do.
Yeah, definitely. And not to mention, this opens the door for other smaller schools like a Wisconsin, just for an example, or maybe like the Rutgers or Nebraska to go on a similar type of run like Indiana did. If they can get some good players in from the transfer portal, like we could see them go on a run possibly in the not so distant future. It gives a great opportunity for other small schools.
Yeah, it definitely gave hope, and I know watching that game, it was exactly how I expected it to go. A defensive based game. It was close all the way up until the end, and it was a close game even at the end, right? And it ended with Carson Beck throwing that interception. Sad to see, Miami's Cinderella story come to an end, but I feel like we rarely get a happy ending to these Cinderella stories in college football.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, really cool to see. That was a great national championship game too. I mean, it came down to the wire.
For a 1 seed and a 10th seed, that's about the best you can get in a national championship.
Yeah, definitely. What's the next thing though, Miles?
Well, I have a question about, Indiana winning the Natty. What does this mean, this run, the way the playoffs is shaped out? What does this mean for Carson Beck's draft stock?
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. That's a very interesting question. I mean, I still think that Carson Beck, like, his draft stock has risen over the last couple of weeks. Like, over the course of the season, it's risen from being probably like a 7th-round pick to being, I'm thinking maybe like a third, maybe not a third, like a 4th-round pick. Like, I could see that's where Carson Beck is going, like a 4th round. Maybe he sneaks into the 3rd round, possibly. I think that's where Carson Beck may go. But, like, his draft stock has definitely risen.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And I think Carson Beck and Trinidad Chambliss are in a similar boat, right? We didn't expect them to do anything crazy, and then here they come, both underdogs, right? Trinidad Chambliss was the backup starting the year, and Carson Beck was just a guy ousted by Georgia, and really was on a redemption run. And what we got out of this college football season was amazing, and it was the season for redemption quarterbacks, right? Fernando Mendoza, he really wasn't anything crazy at Cal, comes to Indiana, wins the Heisman, wins the national championship. Carson Beck, like I said, out of Georgia, no one wanted him, right? Then you go to Trinidad Chambliss, this Division II quarterback who's won D2 championships, comes in, and their sophomore quarterback gets hurt, and comes this backup, and he dominates, right? So I think we got a great year of college football, but all these one-year wonders in college is going to be tough to draft in the NFL. No one's going to know who's going to be consistently good and who's going to be able to transfer their skills into the NFL. So I think there's a lot of questions surrounding this year's draft class, quarterback-wise, but next year's draft class, without a doubt, will be one of the best draft classes we've ever seen.
Yeah, for sure. And this also, like, this playoffs overall entirely, with the success that Miami had, this really does tell that the college football playoffs is pretty good, and that's probably what kept the CFB playoffs to 12 teams. Like, I know I saw an announcement like a couple days after the national championship that the committee or whoever organizes the format, they're keeping it at 12 teams, and I have to believe it's based off the success of this entire playoff, or this entire rendition of the college football playoffs, and undoubtedly the national championship, because I think it was one of the top viewed national championship games like in history. I think it was like top 3, maybe top 2 of all time.
Yeah. It was really incredible, and it makes you fall in love with college football again, seeing two teams that usually aren't in the top, right? We didn't see LSU, we didn't see Alabama, we didn't see Ohio State or Oregon up at the top like we always do. So I think seeing the change of pace was really fun. And I think, in my opinion, going back to baseball, if baseball did similar thing where like smaller teams go to the World Series and into the playoffs, make runs, it will be even better for the league. So I think all around, this college football season has helped sports all around the world.
For sure. I agree, definitely. Moving on, though, we have some breaking news out of the Green Bay Packers. Offensive lineman Rasheed Walker was arrested earlier today at LaGuardia Airport after having his bag checked, and it was containing a firearm. So he was arrested earlier today. Miles, you have probably a little bit more insider knowledge on this. What might this do for the Packers and Rasheed Walker?
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, this was not like a targeted incident. This was something that Rasheed Walker didn't know the rules. It was licensed in Wisconsin. He didn't know. He wasn't allowed to carry it into New York or wherever it was. I'm pretty sure it was New York. And it sounds like it was just a big mix-up on his part. I'm not saying it was okay to bring a firearm, but I'm just saying it was not like he was going to do something wrong from what we know. But this will have an impact on him. And I think Rasheed Walker already, he was a seventh round pick. He kind of emerged as a rising starter for this team. He fell off this year. The end of the season was atrocious for Rasheed Walker. In the beginning of the year, he was poised to have a brand new big contract. Now by the end of the year, most likely he will be walking out the door with Romeo Doubs.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, wow, Romeo Doubs, you mentioned that too. I think that's another topic of discussion for another day, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. All right, moving on to the NFL Coaching Carousel. It's been the topic of our conversation for so many weeks now. Andrew, would you like me to read off all the things that have happened?
Yes, please, because I don't think I could actually remember them all.
All right, in chronological order, the New York Giants hired John Harbaugh. We talked a little bit about that. Former head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. He was there for 18 years. Love this hire. You know, the Giants and the Ravens have similar offenses, and John Harbaugh can really turn this Giants team around. Now, for the Atlanta Falcons, they hired former Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. He's a 2-time head coach of the year. This was also a decent move. I think Stefanski's a little bit overrated, but I don't hate this move. Then the third hiring, this is the big one. Miami Dolphins hire Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley to be their head coach. Andrew, let's talk a little bit about this one. What do you think this means for the Dolphins, bringing in a defensive-based guy? He was the head coach of Boston College. He was defense coordinator 2 years for the Packers. He's kind of been all around the league. What do you see this being for the Dolphins?
Well, I think this is definitely a changing culture for the Dolphins because obviously they had Mike McDaniel as their last head coach, an offensive minded head coach, and as a result of that, their defense has not been very consistent over the last couple of years. And now, with that offensive system kind of failing this past year, or overall these past 2 years, it was a time for a change. And now bringing in a new culture with Jeff Hafley, a defensive minded head coach, I think this will be definitely a transition period for the Dolphins because we could see a change at quarterback. We could see some changes on offense. Could we maybe see some wide receivers get traded out, like Tyreek Hill, or possibly Jalen Waddle maybe get sent out? Who knows? And not to
Yeah,
mention, on defense, maybe Jeff Havley's going to bring some different guys in, or he's going to try to make some big moves to bring in other defensive players. Who knows what he's going to try to do and surround his staff on that team because there's definitely some good coordinators out on offense for Jeff Hafley to bring in.
yeah, I would agree. And I saw an interview with Jeff Hafley, and this is going back to you talked about the coaching change or the quarterback changes. And Jeff Hafley did say there will be a quarterback competition. And I think that's going to be very, very important for the future of the Miami Dolphins. Right now, it's in the hands of two former Green Bay Packer guys, right? The
Yeah.
former vice president of player personnel is now the GM for the Dolphins, and obviously Jeff Hafley. So I think we will see within the next 3 years the franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, the new one, not Tua, the new franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins emerge within the next 3 years. And I could see this defense going on a tear. I could see, they have talented guys like Bradley Chubb. They have Micah Fitzpatrick, and they have a lot of talent. Now with Jeff Hafley and what the culture he's going to bring, as you said, I'm very excited to see what happens.
Yeah, and I've also seen some people online saying that they don't like this hire, and I can't figure out why. Like they're pointing to the facts that Jeff Hafley blew that game. Like they're saying that Jeff Hafley blew that game against the Bears in the wild card game, and as a Packers fan, we kind of know that we can't all place the blame on Jeff Hafley. I mean, the offense completely shut down in that game. So I think it's hard to place the blame on Jeff Hafley in that game. So I don't think that's a valid reason for criticizing the hire of Jeff Hafley. I will say a 5-year deal for Jeff Hafley. That might be pushing it just a tiny bit. At least in my opinion. I don't know about you. And then the other thing is that they're pointing to his record in college that he couldn't have a single winning year in college with Boston College. But I'm going to point to the fact that it's Boston College as a program, like a football program. Like you don't ever see them do well as a football program. Like I know they had a couple good teams maybe a couple years ago, back like before COVID, with guys like AJ Dillon on that roster. That's the only reason I know Boston College was good is because AJ Dillon came out of that school. But yeah, I don't feel like the criticisms of Jeff Hafley are truly valid right now. I think this is a great hire for the Dolphins.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you can't judge it until you try it. So I think
Yeah.
Jeff Hafley, we got to see what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew within the next 2 years he was going to get a job, and the Dolphins felt like he was their guy. I would have loved to see the interview and see, what his plan is for the future of the Dolphins team, because really right now it's still a sinking ship. And the question is, how is he going to patch the holes and pump the water out to save it?
Yeah.
Or is he going to go down too? We'll see. All right. Moving on, the Tennessee Titans hire right. Whoa. Okay, Tennessee Titans hire defensive coordinator of the 49ers, Robert Saleh. This is a great move for the Titans. Kind of stinks for Robert Saleh. I think he had a few better options, but he's getting the franchise quarterback. He has some defensive pieces, and this is a team that's going to continue to build around Robert Saleh. I think this is a great move. Personally, this is just you're getting another Mike Vrabel,
Yeah.
another strong defensive coach, a guy who players love, a guy who players can relate to. That's what you're getting with Robert Saleh. Personally, you had that with Mike Vrabel. You messed that up. But I love this move for the Tennessee Titans.
Definitely, me too. This was kind of one of the moves, like one of the hirings that kind of flew under my radar. Like it wasn't a major breaking story. I feel like because I feel like it was the Titans' job. It's not the 49ers like firing Kyle Shanahan and having that job open up, or like the Browns hiring Stefanski or the Giants hiring Harbaugh. It was definitely one of the more quiet moves. I will say that for me, at least, because it wasn't something that immediately popped up on my feed.
Yeah, it definitely was. The Titans' job isn't very flashy. Obviously, it's going to be hard to win there. Hopefully, he can get it done. Hopefully, they give him the opportunity to get it done. But moving on, the Baltimore Ravens hire Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. Now, this one almost surprised me, but then I thought about it. It didn't. I knew the Ravens were going to bring in a defensive coordinator just because it made sense, right? You think of Ravens, you think of Ed Reed, you think of Ray Lewis, you think of that violent, scary defense that they had.
Yeah.
And right now the Ravens lost that side of them. And that's part of the Ravens' history. And I think Jesse Minter can kind of bring that back. And he can bring back some of that fear. I think, personally, I would have rather seen Robert Saleh to the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a smarter move. I just think Robert Saleh can make that defense even better. But Jesse Minter, I don't think it's a bad move. I'm going to be interested to see. I think Jesse Minter and Lamar Jackson could get along, and I'm interested to see how he uses Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and if this changes anything. Because obviously you're going from a guy who's been there 18 years to a completely new coach who has no head coaching experience.
Yeah.
So I don't hate it, but I'm not going to say it's the best move that a team's made. But one of the best moves a team's made is this just happened about 2 hours ago. The Pittsburgh Steelers hired former Packers head coach, former Cowboys head coach, Mike McCarthy.
Big Mac.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love this move. And to me, Aaron Rodgers loves this move too. And if the Steelers didn't want to bring back Aaron Rodgers, they wouldn't have brought in Mike McCarthy. All right, that's the honest truth. Because now, if you're going to say, hey, Aaron Rodgers, we don't want you back, but oh yeah, your favorite coach, Mike McCarthy, we hired him. So I think that'd be a slap in the face if they don't bring back Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about this hire though, because I feel like I'm not really sure if Aaron Rodgers has a direction on where he wants to go yet. He hasn't been very public about it, and I don't know if he wants to retire. And even if he does want to go back to playing football, I guess the Steelers might be his best option if he does want to go compete. But I'm not sure, are the Steelers willing to go get another year of Aaron Rodgers and another mediocre season? I'm not seeing the vision here, I guess.
Honestly, I see where you're coming from, but I think this is the right move. I think right now you got one of the oldest rosters in the league, so why bring in a young coach who's going to take time to develop? Because as of now, we haven't seen anything like the Steelers are rebuilding. The Steelers are doing that. Right now, from what I'm hearing, the Steelers are confident in their roster.
Huh.
And with Mike McCarthy, I think that they can really go farther. I'm not saying that they don't have missing pieces. In the wide receiving core, they need someone consistent. Don't know who that would be. And then with Aaron Rodgers in that quarterback room, Mason Rudolph, if Rodgers fails, they do need a backup plan. To me, does that mean drafting a mid-round quarterback or drafting someone a little bit higher, taking a swing at Trinidad Chambliss, right? I would love to see Trinidad Chambliss go to the Steelers, learn under Rodgers, and, kind of develop and be able to replace him if Rodgers fails or when Rodgers is done. That's what I said last year about Shedeur. But I think Shedeur and Trinidad Chambliss are similar in the sense that, elite running ability and no idea where they're going to go in the draft. And they need time to develop. So I think you're going to have to make a move for a young quarterback, but I think you also bring back Aaron Rodgers.
All right, yeah. Definitely going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do at quarterback coming up later this year. Is that the last big head coaching move out there?
That is, but there are so many interviews and rumors going around. First, let's start off with probably the biggest job open, right? The Buffalo Bills.
Oh yeah.
All right, and the Buffalo Bills, they're going everywhere. They're looking to interview a ton of people. But the biggest name to come out of the interviews, Philip Rivers,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
This is a crazy interview, right? This guy, he's out of the league for 5 years. Everyone forgets about him. He's like a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden, the Colts lose Daniel Jones. They call in Philip Rivers at 44 years old, and they're like, hey, we would love to see you back in a Colts uniform. He comes back, plays, 3 games? And 3 very solid games at that. For a
yeah,
guy's been out of the league for 5 years, I really like that move for the Colts. And then at the end of the season, he brings up that coaching is something he's interested in. And this is interesting for me because he was a high school head coach when he was out of the league. And then all of a sudden, I see the Bills, which is by far the biggest job open, interviewed Philip Rivers.
yeah,
And that is huge because this is a guy who has no experience. This is a guy who who has never coached at collegiate or professional levels. We have no idea what this guy is. But may I say this? I like this interview. I like that they are taking that risk and even interviewing him, right? It's a headliner, first of all. And we know Josh Allen is pulling some strings here on who he wants to be his head coach. And I think explore every avenue before, you turn down that road. So I think, yeah, if Philip Rivers blew them away and his plan for that team was so amazing and so incredible that he gets hired, which would be insane.
yeah,
That'd be crazy. But I think there's a better chance of a guy like Brian DeBall going back there
yeah,
and being that head coach. But yeah, I'm not really sure. And especially firing Sean McDermott, which I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Now they fired him after the 2 biggest names are off the board, right? You got Stefanski and Harbaugh. And then I would say another guy who would have been on the board, Mike McCarthy, who would have been a good option there, is also now off the board. So you're running out of options.
yeah.
And speaking of Bills, Mike McDaniel, who was supposed to have an interview with the Buffalo Bills today, I believe, canceled.
Oh,
He canceled on the Bills. Mike McDaniel, former head coach of the Dolphins, offensive guru, canceled on the Bills. He canceled on the Browns. And as of now, if he does not get a head coaching hire, he has a little contract made up that he will go be the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, there is probably one other opening that would be the spot for Mike McDaniel, and that would be the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, I'd love to see an offensive guru that go there like Cliff Kingsbury, Clint Kubiak, or Mike McDaniel. Not sure about that, though. So options are running out for the Bills. It may come down to we very well could see Philip Rivers be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills.
yeah. Imagine telling that to an NFL fan of 2022 or 2024 even. Like, imagine this. Bills fire Sean McDermott and have Philip Rivers come in to be their head coach. Like, just imagine telling someone from 2024 that news. Any other, major, rumors in the coaching world?
Well, in the coaching world, first of all, you have to question about what Mike McDaniel's doing. Andrew, first, I want to get your opinion on that. What are you thinking about what Mike McDaniel's doing right now?
It's good for him to keep his options open. Like, it's very smart of him to do that. But I think he's already locked up a job with the Chargers as their offensive coordinator, which I think is a good move. Like, both for the Chargers and Mike McDaniel are pairing him with a pretty good quarterback in Justin Herbert, a quarterback that I think the Chargers passed on, or the Dolphins passed on back in 2020, by the way. So maybe McDaniel and Herbert might be the right pairing. But then you're seeing McDaniel go out and look for head coaching jobs. Like, I think it's just smart of him to do that. Like, it's a good career move for him to keep those options open.
Yeah. All right. Well, on the Packers side of things, Packers are looking for that new defensive coordinator, obviously, because Mike McDaniel's replacement, Jeff Hafley, was our defensive coordinator.
Yep.
So the Packers interviewed. Right now, he's the Bears' defensive back coach. So the Packers interviewed Al Harris, former Packer cornerback, and they interviewed him for defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, well, this is kind of like a one up yours to the Bears, I feel like, in my opinion. But yeah, this is, I think it's a smart move. Again, you're bringing a guy that was a player in house, technically. Well, not technically in house, but, bringing him back to the Packers organization to be the defense coordinator. It makes sense. It makes sense because we've seen players, like former defensive players, make pretty good coaches like Robert Saleh, Mike Vrabel, Dan Campbell. Like, I don't know, like people are kind of maybe sleeping on Dan Campbell a little bit after kind of disappointing season with the Lions. So we've seen former players, especially on defense, become really good coaches, like as defensive coordinators and defensive minded head coaches, like the D'Amico Ryans as well. So definitely, former players make good coaches.
Yeah, and building on to what you just said about former players being good coaches, which I completely agree with. They have that kind of aspect that they have the player mind for that, and I think I'd be very happy to see Al Harris here. And obviously his defense has led the league in interceptions. He would be able to really use what we got, and we don't got a lot in that defensive back room.
Yeah.
So I'd be very happy to see that. But another name that is reported that the Packers are waiting to interview, Jim Leonard.
Oh yeah, I saw that one too.
The defensive back coach for the Broncos. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on Jim Leonard. Jim Leonard was the defense coordinator for the Badgers for a long time, and when they fired Paul Chris, Jim Leonard went in as interim head coach. He interviewed for the job, ended up losing it to Luke Fickell. Who knows? That may have been, the wrong move.
Yeah.
We don't really know. So then he goes and makes his way to the NFL and gets hired by Sean Payton to be the defensive back coach of the Broncos, which is why we thought our friend Hunter Wooler was going to go there because of his connections with Jim Leonard. And it was going to happen until the Colts decided to take Hunter Wooler because they heard about the Broncos' interest in him. Anyways, that got a little off task, but I would be happy to see Jim Leonard get the job. Another former player, and he brings electricity. He brings the boom, which Al Harris brings as well. So my two top picks for the Packers defensive coordinator job would either be Al Harris or Jim Leonard. Obviously, there are other options like Raheem Morris, like Jonathan Gannon, which are good options. I would like to see someone who hasn't been given that opportunity yet, come in and make a name for themselves like Jeff Hafley did.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see Jonathan Gannon as defensive coordinator because he was the Eagles' offensive coordinator for a little bit of time before he got hired by the Cardinals. But I don't want to see Jonathan Gannon as the defensive coordinator at all. I just want to make that very, very clear. Like offensive coordinator, maybe, but yeah.
What is it? Is he not a defensive guy?
No, he's an offensive guy.
What?
I think he's an offensive guy.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I think I swear that Jonathan Gannon was the offensive coordinator. It was either I think he was on like the same kind of regime as Shane Steichen. I'm pretty sure as.
No, he was the Eagles defensive coordinator.
Oh, he was defensive coordinator.
But I would personally rather see Al Harris, Jim Leonard, or Raheem Morris as my guys.
Yeah, but I mean, clearly it didn't work for Jonathan Gannon being in Arizona because it didn't work. He wasn't very good on defense.
That was not good.
So, that case in point, he wasn't very good as a defensive-minded head coach in Arizona. They had like one of the worst defenses in the league like 3 years in a row. So, yeah, I don't want Jonathan Gannon at all.
Moving on to our final segment. This is going to be an interesting one. I call it Hunting Bucks.
Oh.
And this is going to be all about what the Bucks can do to stop sucking like they are right now. And my opinion, it's time to move on from Giannis Antetokounmpo. Andrew, what are you thinking about that? Do you think that the Bucks can make moves like a move for a guy like John Morant or Michael Porter Jr. to try to surround Giannis with the team to win, or is it a lost cause?
I don't think it's a lost cause. I definitely don't think that, but in my opinion at least, I actually went to the Bucks game last night against the Nuggets where the Bucks almost won. Like Kuzma almost made a game-winning shot, but it didn't go in. In my opinion, I don't think it's the player personnel on the roster that are necessarily the problem. Like, there's definitely the option of going and getting some other guys to bring in to improve the roster. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Kuzma. I'm not the biggest fan of Gary Trent Jr. anymore. So there's definitely room for improvement on that roster, but I don't think it's really the problem. Like, maybe we're like one starter away from being in contention, but I don't think that's the problem. I think we have a decent second wave or a second lineup, like a second five with we have some other guards. We have Torian Prince when he comes back, hopefully healthy. I think Torian Prince is pretty solid. We have Bobby Portis, I think, is one of the better bench players in the league right now. I don't think it's the player personnel. I think it more so falls on the coaching because Doc Rivers, I was not impressed with what he was calling last night. I mean, the rotations last night were just completely unbelievable. They were terrible. We had Pete Nance, who's up on a two-way deal, getting more minutes than Bobby Portis. Like, that doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And it's unbelievable to see that. Like, that was my main gripe. Like, why is Pete Nance getting substantial minutes as a guy with a two-way contract? Like, we're not hurting with injuries right now. Like, the guys that are hurt are Kevin Porter Jr. and Torian Prince. Like, it just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense at all. So, like, that's my main problem with it. Like, something's got to change. Like, either it's Giannis has to get traded at this point. Like, maybe, like, realistically, if the Bucks are going to make a change, it's probably going to be either Giannis gets traded or someone else, like, they clear house, or Doc Rivers gets fired. And I think regardless, if either one of Giannis or Rivers goes, the other is going with them, 100%.
Yeah. Well, to kind of build off what you're saying, was the game against the Nuggets?
Yeah, it wasn't against the Nuggets. It was last night.
All right. To build off of what you were saying, we didn't have Kevin Porter Jr., so Gary Harris had to start. He had 28 minutes and only 4 points.
Yeah.
Pathetic. But to contradict what you said about Doc Rivers, Ryan Rollins, let's talk about him, right? The guy was a nobody. The guy was a second-round bench guy who's kind of bounced around the league. With Doc Rivers, he had 21 points last night, and he's been averaging 16. I will take 16 from a young Ryan Rollins any day. And to build off of that, Giannis only had 22. And when you need someone to carry the team, 22 is not going to get it done. So it's not just that. I do understand what you're saying. More Amir Coffey. Amir Coffey had 21 minutes and only 5 points. That doesn't make sense to me. Pete Nance had 12 and 0 points. So I think there's also some falling on the GM, right? You could say we have some depth, and we do. We have some underrated guys. We have no consistency, though. And to be honest with you, we don't have as deep of a bench as we used to because we've had to use that bench money and put it into guys like Miles Turner and to bring in guys like Gary Trent Jr. and Kyle Kuzma. And that has hurt the team substantially. So financially, it's not working out for the Bucks. And to me, there's only one way to go, and that is to trade Giannis. And that's sad to say because I love Giannis. I love watching Giannis. Really, let's be honest, the only reason any of us go to Bucks game is to see Giannis, right? Obviously, there was a point where it was Dame Lillard, too, or Drew Holiday, both guys gone.
Or Chris Middleton.
I think to kind of, put this into our Hunting Bucks segment, let's think about it. I want you to close your eyes and imagine right now.
All right.
You're in the forest, right? The forest of the NBA.
Okay.
And right now, there are a lot of teams that are hunting the Bucks. The Bucks used to be good. I think they're in contention for like 7 years to win a championship. They did win a championship. So people want to beat up on the Bucks. It's a big time headliner if you could whoop up on the Bucks like that 30-point victory that the Timberwolves had over the Bucks. And to me, everyone's hunting the Bucks, and specifically, they want Giannis. Everyone is hunting Giannis.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to get him, right? He's on a huge contract. He's, aging and injury prone, right? He just had another calf injury.
Yeah.
That's going to have him out up until the trade deadline, which, by the way, I really think is just Giannis saying he's done. I think that means Giannis has played his last game with the Bucks. They've dropped the last 4 of their 5 games, and it's looking ugly right now.
Yeah.
And I think a team that's maybe somewhat in contention, like the Warriors or the Raptors or the Knicks, will make moves to try to bring him in. Maybe even the Heat. But I think the longer we wait, the less value Giannis has. And something I've been hearing from Brian Winters, who is pretty much the Adam, and Shams, who are like the Adam Schefters of the NBA, have been talking about how this trade deadline all comes down to Giannis.
Yeah.
And if Giannis is shipped out, it's anyone's game at that point. We're going to see guys get moved. We're going to see huge trades because, to be honest with you, you're going to need a lot of teams involved in a trade for Giannis just because financially it's going to be very hard to do. And looking into it, right, the Kevin Durant trade was 16 teams in the end? Like, it was one of the biggest trades. I think we could see another thing like that happen, and that would shake up the league. And I think that Giannis Antetokounmpo will get moved. I don't know if it'll get ugly or not, but I do think it will be a mutual decision to move. And in my opinion, the Bucks need to get at least 4 to 5 first-round picks and a few young rising stars.
Yeah, like, we've never seen Giannis be, like, this upset with the team. Like, he's been willing to kind of, I almost would say, be passive to it, but, like, he hasn't been nearly this critical of the Bucks as he has been right now. Like, I saw a thing that he was calling out the players, like, the selfish play, just the way the coaching has not been running. Like, he had to draw up his own play for that game-winning shot against the Indiana Pacers all the way back in, like, November. So we've never seen Giannis be this critical of the Bucks, but it's definitely soured the relationship 100%. We've drawn up some trade proposals, haven't we? I think, right?
Maybe. I mean, I tried it. Like, when I tell you I was working on it for probably about an hour and a half, I was, because this was about impossible to find a trade with Giannis. And honestly, any trade we draw up probably won't be accurate, because how we value Giannis may be not as much as how the league values. The league may value him a lot, or they may not value him as much as we value him. And so, I mean, I don't have the specifics. I did have a 4-team trade with Bucks, Warriors, Nets, and Jazz that would send Giannis to the Warriors, Kuzma to the Nets, and the Bucks just get an overhaul of players like Kuminga. We'd have to get Draymond Green for financial reasons, and then multiple first-round picks. The Nets would have swap right first, and it's really complicated, and that's the reason why I'm not an NBA GM, because that'd be so hard.
Yeah, I have a 3-team trade. I have it between the Bucks, Spurs, and Nets. Basically, Giannis goes to the Spurs, and Kelly Olynyk goes from the Spurs to the Nets, and the Nets also get a second-round pick from the Spurs, and the Bucks get 4 picks, 3 first-rounders, and a second-rounder, all unprotected, and the Bucks also get Devin Vassell from the Spurs. Again, we're not NBA GMs. Like, this was my first time using this trade simulator, so I was very unsure of how I was going into this. It ended up not working because of budget constraints, but I imagine in the real world, the Spurs could find a way to manage that trade. But it would definitely have to involve more than 3 teams for this deal to go through, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, building on your trade, I think guys like Dylan Harper would be thrown into that, and Jeremy Shokan would be thrown into that. But just Giannis, I think we can agree that it's not working right now, and the Bucks are getting worse and worse. And I think if Giannis goes, we will see Miles Turner and Kyle Kuzma both gone as well.
I think Doc Rivers also will be fired too, like, if Giannis goes too. Like, at least if Giannis gets traded, I would want to see Doc Rivers fired at that point. Like, just tear it all down, clear house, just rebuild, like, strip it down to the foundations, just restart everything. That's what I would want to see from the Bucks at that point.
Yeah, and I think, personally, this was a move that should have happened earlier. I would have loved to see it happen in the draft that just happened with Cooper Flagg, right? If we could have made some sort of deal to get the first pick and Cooper Flagg was the face of our franchise, right? We could be talking about a whole different game here.
Yeah.
And we could be talking about the Mavericks in a whole different way if they had Giannis. And we could be talking differently if maybe we made a trade that got us a bunch of young guys from the Spurs and picks and Dylan Harper. So I think there are moves to be made. I'd love to see VJ Edgecombe and the 76ers make a trade with Giannis. But I think that Giannis is going to be gone. I'm not sure I agree with, the Doc Rivers thing, but I could definitely get on board with parting ways from Doc Rivers if we do go into a full rebuild, just because, obviously you're not going to keep a win now older coach. You're going to get somebody younger. I'm not exactly sure who that would be, but I would definitely be interested to see how this trade deadline goes. And to me, the Bucks are in denial right now that they can't win, and there's not a trade right now that will make them win.
Yeah,
and
maybe the Bucks can make some trades to trade Kyle Kuzma, get a little more value at his position, maybe at the small forward position, because clearly it's not been there from Kyle Kuzma, at least from what I've seen. The value we gave up for him in that trade last year with Chris Milton and A.J. Johnson, it just hasn't been there. So, that's realistically, I see the only move that really could save, Giannis, that would be the Bucks telling Giannis, we're going to try everything to build around you, maybe add some more depth to the bench. But, yeah, it's just, there's a lot of decisions to be made, for sure.
Yeah, this would be the time when I would not want to be the GM for the Bucks and make this kind of call, because I think either way you're the bad guy here, right? We look, and if you mess up this trade, I mean, I will cry if we mess up this trade.
Yeah.
If we do a Luka Doncic type trade where we only get one first round pick and an old guy like that would be devastating for me.
Yeah.
And honestly, to be honest with you, looking back on that Luka trade, the Bucks should have been right in there too. The Bucks had plenty to offer as well. If that was what the value was for Luka, that would have been a whole different story as well.
Yeah.
Going into this, because that just would have been awesome. I'm definitely seeing the Lakers as a possible interest for Giannis, and mutual interest probably there. So we will see. I have no idea what will happen, and the uncertainty for the Bucks is scary. The fact that they're not good is scary, and it's just we may lose the two biggest stars in Milwaukee right now, Freddie Peralta and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and it's going to get scary for Wisconsin sports.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, but I think that will about wrap us up here for episode, I think it's 39. Episode 39 of Talking Sports. I dropped my paper so I couldn't see. But yeah, now we'll wrap it up for this episode, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow the show. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Links will be down in the description to my show, Talking NASCAR. And I'm Andrew.
And I'm Miles.
And we'll see you in the next episode, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.